That message before though. It was saying could not create the live stream, so I was panicking for a few minutes. I just closed everything out and just tried it again. So I don't know, maybe it got stuck or something and froze. I don't know, but we here. Happy Thursday, y'all. Anybody see the new moon last night? Anybody? Bueller? Well, it was spotted in multiple places. So the Sabbath has changed for us. It is now, it did the little jump thing that I be telling y'all about. Now it's on Thursdays, right? So the Sabbath for next week will be Thursday. But anyway, y'all, happy Thursday. October the 27th. It is day 247 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1266. We're still in the book of knowledge. We might finish the day, might not, just depends. On page 757 is where we pick up, and in chapter 5, or chapter V in Roman numerals. All right, Father, we thank you that your designs are absolutely amazing. And man's knowledge and wisdom can't even comprehend to what you've already created. We're just the mere copy. We can't even label it a copy. But it's always second, probably third hand next to you. I'll even go as far as to say we probably down like 20 something like that. But the whole point is nobody can design like you. Audrey, shalom. Anita, greetings. Vinette, shalom. Elijah, peace and blessings. Keep, bless up. Ema, grand rising. FSIL, greetings. Hannah, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. And everybody else hanging out in the background in both places, Facebook and YouTube. All right, y'all, so let's get started. Page 757, chapter 5. Tay then made a tablet of nations of the earth, and of the people therein, rank and rank, caste and caste. And when it was completed, Jehovah spake to him through his sons and daughters. Jehovah said, separate thou all the people into 4 groups, and thou shalt determine the kingdoms of the atmosphere, and thou shalt divide them after the manner of my judgment upon them. Remember, O man, that in all my kingdoms like attracts like. I'll be saying that all the time, right? According to their talents, so do I prosper them. He who desireth of the earth, I give of the earth. He who desireth of heaven, I give heavenly treasures. Tay said, I perceive why the king desireth to be king, why the idler desireth to be idle, why the general desireth to rule, and the captain and leader of men, and why the rich man glorieth in riches. If they prosper in these things, is it not because the corporal transcended the spirit? And Tay brought all these together, and this he called the first division, saying, he who is farthest from Jehovah prospereth best in the corporal world, for his desires show the direction of his soul. Tay then called together all the laborers of the earth who were diligent but prospered not, and he found their spiritual judgment transcended their corporal judgment. These he called the second division. Tay then collected together all the infants in the world, and they were without judgment, and this he called the third division. Tay then called together all the people who lived off the earnings and industry of others, and these were thieves, robbers, politicians, lawyers, judges, and preachers who live in fine houses. Go figure that they would be lumped together with the worst of the worst, if you want to call them that. Mom, shalom. Tay then collected together all the people who lived off the earnings and industry of others, and these were thieves, robbers, politicians, lawyers, judges, and preachers who lived in fine houses. This he called the fourth division. And when Tay looked abroad over the earth, lo and behold, there was one man left, and he alone was of his kind on the earth. Tay said, Who art thou? And the man answered, I know not, neither do I know whence I came, or whither I shall go. Tay said, What is thy labor? The man answered, Whatsoever I can turn my hand to, that I do, and I give all I have and my time to whosoever needeth me. Tay said, Shall I give thee gold? The man said, Nay, I need nothing. Tay said, Shall I make thee leader of men? The man answered, Nay, to be a leader on earth is to be bound in heaven. Tay said, Then thou shalt have renown, for thou art the highest of all men. But the man answered, Nay, I would not have renown, for when I am dead and gone to heaven, I will be called back continually by the prayers of men. Naked I came into the world. Permit me to depart when my time cometh, as Jehovah directed. Now when Tay found the man desireth nothing of earth for earth's sake, he cried out to the Father, saying, 4 divisions have I made of people of the earth, but there is one man besides, and he fitteth none of the divisions. Where then shall I place him? Jehovah said, Leave thou him alone, and when his death is at hand, my Etherian angels shall carry his soul to the second heaven, for he is my son. Wow. Going back and looking at these 4 groups of people again. The earnings, the leaders. Okay. Verse 12. 4 divisions have I made of the people of the earth, but there is one man beside, and he fitteth none of the divisions. Where then shall I place him? Jehovah said, Leave thou him alone, and when his death is at hand, my Etherian angels shall carry his soul to the second heaven, for he is my son. Then Jehovah questioned Tay, saying, How judgest thou the children of men? Tay said, The leaders, that is, kings, queens, emperors, popes, and rich men, I have made into one division, producers into another division, idlers and babes another, and thieves, liars, robbers, politicians, judges, lawyers, and priests who live in fine houses, another division. Then spake Jehovah through his sons and daughters, saying, Thou hast done well. For what is one man more than another when stripped of his flesh body, save the righteousness of his soul? That's good. Then Jehovah spake through his sons and daughters, saying, Thou hast done well. For what is one man more than another when stripped of his flesh body, save the righteousness of his soul? And is not the labor of man the true basis to weigh the worth of his spirit? What is the king or the rich man more in my sight than the most menial servant? Then Tay counted the numbers of people whom he had collected in the 4 divisions, and they corresponded to the statistics of mortals. Jehovah said, Of such rank and rank, caste and caste, are my kingdoms and atmosphere. According to that which they have developed on earth, so do I assign them in heaven. According to that which they have developed on the earth, so do I assign them in heaven. Let every man judge for himself let every man judge for himself and assign himself whithersoever he will. My kingdoms are open to all. Clearly, right? So whatever we choosing to do here, we're choosing to do when we depart from here. Like we choose like our starting place when we depart from here. Like he done left that all up to us. I'm going to read the whole verse 18 again. Jehovah said, Of such rank and rank, caste and caste, are my kingdoms and atmosphere. According to that which they have developed on the earth, so do I assign them in heaven. Let every man judge for himself and assign himself whithersoever he will. My kingdoms are open to all. Thus did they discover the rank and grade of the lower heaven, and the numbers of people dwelling in each and every division thereof. And after thereof is reference letter C. So let's hop to the end of the book of knowledge. On page 764, C says, refers to plate 93, rates, and plate 94, grades. So let's find plates 93 and 94. 693 and 694. Oh, I remember this. Okay. On page 693 is plate 93, and it's the rates. So remember this right up here. I'm going to hold it closer. That's for Facebook. Nene, shalom, shalom, sis. All right. And the next page, page 694, you have it, and it's flipped right side up. It looks exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same, except for the triangle is pointing upward. And this is plate 94, the grades. It's for Facebook, so they can see it. Global purpose. All praises to the Creator. Shalom, sis. All right. YouTube, that's for y'all. Okay, y'all remember that, right? Who was reading the Book of Judgment? Okay. So let's go back to page 757. And I'll reread, starting at verse 18. Jehovah said, of such rank and rank, caste and caste, are my kingdoms and atmosphere. According to that which they have developed on earth, so do I assign them in heaven. Let every man judge for himself and assign himself whithersoever he will. My kingdoms are open to all. Thus did they discover the rank and grade of the lower heaven, and the numbers of people dwelling in each and every division thereof. Jehovah called his sons and daughters, and they stood upright before him. Jehovah said, what is thy wisdom, O man? They then answered, I have learned by corporal things which are seen and heard. I have learned also of spiritual things which are unseen and unheard. Jehovah said, what thine eyes behold, or what thine ears hear, is my person. The others are of my spirit. When was the birth of this, thy cosmon knowledge? They said, when the inhabitants who were descendants of thy people had circumscribed the earth and settled it around about, then thy holy angels came and knocked on the walls of Rochester. They proclaimed thee and no other God or Lord. Jehovah said, before this I had searched the earth over and selected and provided a place for my kingdom. By my angels did I inspire the founders of this new country to banish the dominion of church with state, and to provide for the spirit of man to proclaim me and my person. Read that again. I broke the sentence up wrong. Okay. Verse 25, page 757. Jehovah said, before this I had searched the earth over and selected and provided a place for my kingdom. By my angels did I inspire the founders of this new country to banish the dominion of church with state, and to provide for the spirit of man to proclaim me and my person. They became a mighty nation, and the spirit of manhood was in them. For as I taught them to deny the divine rights of kings, I foresaw that they would also deny the same thing of Christ and cast him out. They perceived that these things were so, and that the time had come when all the people would bow to none save Jehovah, the great spirit. And that time is upon us, right? Everybody. And we won't need nobody to tell us nothing, right? You know, y'all get what I'm saying. But we worship none other than the Creator, or Yah, right? The Creator, the Great Spirit alone. We won't need middleman. We can go directly to him, right? Jehovah said, and somebody, Somebody said to me yesterday, they was watching one of the videos, and it was a recent video. I'm like, you definitely have not been here that long. Like, Jesus lovers, when I show up in their algorithm, I rub them the wrong way for some reason because they still clinging on to the Savior. And I get it. I truly, I understand it. I get it. But they don't even care to hear out exactly what is being said, right? They acting like we're trying to lead them completely away from the Creator. No, quite the contrary. We're trying to lead you to the Creator. Matter of fact, I had to point out to her, I said, didn't Jesus even tell you to worship the Father? I said, but for some strange reason, y'all just don't look at none of that of what he said and still made him an idol. I'm like, how is that? So you discount the Creator for his creation. You discounted the Creator to worship his creation. Doesn't that seem odd to you? Right? It's like they don't even think about it, right? They were taught not to. We were taught not to, right? So, I mean, I get it. So I have a little patience, but sometimes they just want to go in on you. I'm just like, okay. Maybe we'll have this conversation again sometime in the future, right? I'm going to go ahead and you go ahead your way at this point because you're not even trying to listen to what I'm saying, just to even go look into what I'm saying, if it's true or not, or if it makes sense, right? It's like we don't care that we're living a completely deceived life because those who are deceived don't even really know that they're deceived. Like, they can't see it, and you just ask some basic questions just to get them thinking, right? And it's like, we don't want to hear that. Get out of here. You deny Jesus, you deny your Savior, you're going to hell. We want nothing to do with you. I'm like, okay. Maybe we'll cross paths again sometime in the future. Well, I hope you didn't accept the Christ and turn back to your Savior. I'm like, you know what? Goodbye. I do my best. I do my best now not to argue, right? But I will ask questions just to see, right? But if you come for me with the hot forks and steaks and stuff, I'm just like, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna fight with you, right? Because I get this whole thing in my head, this example that I be telling other people about. That would be like my 19-year-old son trying to argue with my 6-year-old daughter, right? I'm just like, I'm gonna walk away, right? Even though you're saying little kids will still come after you, trying to jump on your bike, on your back, fight you and bite your ankles and stuff. Like, would you stop it, right? You literally got to take your hand and put it down on their head and be like, stop it, right? That's the way I look at it now. So I'm just like, okay. Listen, Levon, blessings. Tay perceived that these things were so, and that the time had come when all the people would bow to none save Jehovah, the Great Spirit. Jehovah said, hear me, O Tay, for I speak through all the members of my family, and I will declare myself to all my nations and peoples under the sun. Nor shall there be any more gods or lords or saviors on my footstool. In the time of Cosmon, up to the 33rd year thereof, these things have come to pass. Thousands and thousands of men, women and children have been quickened by Jehovah to signs and miracles, even as in the time of the ancients, and many of them have attained to Suis, seeing without corporal eyes and hearing without corporal hearing, knowing things far and near by a sense not belonging to the corporal organs. Right, and we're developing in that. Hopefully, we all should be developing in this, right? Day by day. And although I didn't see a lot of it in here, although it does mention it in here, like fasting, you ain't got to do super long fast. Just get into the habit of fasting a day. Oh, something I found out. What? Look, on the Sabbath. No, sorry. The night before the Sabbath, like we had already did the video for the day. That's something I meant to bring up. And I saw somebody ask about fasting. I forget what it was. It was on somebody else's video. Oahspe College University, shalom, shalom. BC, shalom, shalom. Right, you know, going back to the last comment I made, that's the part that gets me. The man said it in red letters. Why would he pray to himself, right? they just don't see it, right? Or they were taught not to. And it's amazing how indoctrination works, right? It's right there in your face, and you read it, and it still doesn't register with you, right? It's amazing how that works, right? It's amazing how that works to me. And I just sit back, I'm like, you literally just read it. What did I read? I'm like, he told you not to worship him and worship the Father. What? And it's like, no, this is saying something else. I'm like, how is that? They literally get you to read something else into what it actually says. It still blows my mind. I used to do it, right? So I get it, but I'm still amazed that it's still happening just as good as it was all these years. It's crazy. But anyway, something I found out about the Sabbath, going through here, specifically watching out for fasting scriptures, right? Because I said it's kind of like my practice. What I used to think was, because this is in some of the Jewish literature and stuff like that. And even one time I had asked my uncle, I was like, well, how is this? So I'm not quite understanding this. They would tell you from what they know that you shouldn't fast on the Sabbath. Right? I was like, but that seems odd to me, because it seems like if I'm having a problem with fasting, it's literally the easiest time to fast, almost like it was designed for you to start on the Sabbath. And then I came with the theory, at least my understanding, observing everything, why does everything else rest but not your body? Like, wouldn't that fall into the same mold of theory of resting? If everything else is to rest, your body is to rest, should not your mouth and your digestive system rest? Shouldn't that be like all like spirit to spirit communication with the Father? That was my thing, but I was like, no, you shouldn't fast because it's causing your body to work overtime. Now I see that that was nonsensical to me when they were saying it to me. I was like, because of my actually testing it, I was like, well, Father, forgive me, because they said we ain't supposed to fast on the Sabbath. And one time I did it just by mistake, and I saw it was just like, there was like this, I told you, there's like this special blessing, whatever you want to call it, a little bit of extra salt sprinkled on you on the Sabbath when certain things happen on a correct day. And it seems so much easier. Even when I'm going through now, like my little short burst of fasting, it seems so much easier. And then the other day before yesterday, the night going into the Sabbath day, just this week, a couple days ago, when I was reading through the doggone scenes of literature, it started talking about it. Remember, I read that portion to y'all, was it day before yesterday? I read a portion to you, and it was actually right before the prodigal son, where one of the fasting scriptures was. But I kept on reading, and it actually got into fasting, where it actually says you should fast on the Sabbath day. I'm like, you know what? I figured it out. They telling me I was doing it wrong, but I could tell by testing. I was like, there's something different that happens when you fast on the Sabbath day. So even though they said that, I was like, I would think I was breaking a law. I was like, before I did, something just don't seem right. It seems so much easier, and it seems like so much more is downloaded in me if I give my whole eating system a rest and just be me and you, right? So, Anita, no, sis, I didn't get your message. Key, right? Look, Key said they seen writing said to fast on the Sabbath. Right. Look, yeah, remember you should fast for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Listen, I realize now they got all kind of shenanigans, because they do everything the opposite of what we're truly told to do by the Father. And just because they keep writing it over and over and over again in multiple books still doesn't make it true, right? That's why you got to test all things. And when I test something, and even when it goes against the main theory of everything, I got questions, because why is this working like this, like clockwork? And you tell me to do this, but it seemed to be a struggle here, right? And it wasn't making sense. Like, help me make this make sense with my own research and studying. So I was like, Father, they say I'm doing it wrong, but it feels to me, and my communication with you, it feels right. Like it's yes, you know. So, but I would stop arguing. I just do it quietly, what I knew was working, you know. But it just blew my mind when I read it, Key. And it seems writing, you know, the whole book is just blowing my mind anyway. Like, this is my first time even going through that. And I'm like, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been looking for all my life. Listen, right, Bennett, it makes sense to fast on the Sabbath. Then you don't have to, right, because you ain't got to do all the cooking and stuff. And I'm the cooker of my house. Listen, but yeah, look, let me get back to this, y'all. I got a real busy day today. Hold on. Listen. Okay, let's go back up here. Yeah, just wanted to bring out that point about fasting. So, I wish I would have boiled it downstairs because I read it to you. But I'm sure we're gonna come back across it. But I'll read it. Listen, we're gonna add that too. I know we already got Miss Susan B's books up in the lineup, but I'm not exactly sure when. But we're gonna go through the Essenes Gospel too. I mean, the Essenes, yeah, all 4 books in that one. A lot of y'all got it. We've got to read that. Like, I'm like, there is nobody that like read it. Like, you can't get like an audio, because I've been looking for like audios of it. I'm like, nobody. This not even an Audible. You know, I was like, well, we're gonna read it, but I'm not sure when. Because I got this lineup going on. We might throw it in there. Listen, I think it might line up when we get to, if we throw it in there after we read this first book by Susan B. Martinez, it might actually line up to the time when we actually come across Joshua. I'm thinking it might, I'm not sure. It might. We'll see. Maybe I'll look at adding it in after we get done reading that, and we'll read it along with Oahspe, right? It's just, listen, you ain't got to prepare for the Sabbath the night before, because you're not, right? It's gonna be working. Look, bruh, listen, you shouldn't even be eating, but, you know, some people got to take that in steps. But, like, all these years, well, yeah, I can say all these years of me struggling with this and trying to fit this portion, make it fit just right. I was like, fasting is definitely not bad, right? You know, according to your health and everything, granted, if you're super skinny, you got some, and I ain't even gonna say if you got some major health issues, but I will say this. If you got some major health issues, I would say talk to your doctor, right? Don't have me getting y'all in trouble. I mean, yeah, don't get me in trouble with the medical people and them cutting my video off because I done said something that somebody foolishly went and did without actually doing the research and understanding the dynamics of their body and what they already got going on. But fasting will heal you, right? If done appropriately, and sometimes depending on if you're on a bunch of medicines, I'm sure you will need to do it under the supervision of your doctor or a master herbalist who understands that and knows how to wean you off the different medications, because they'll do blood work and tests and just make sure everything is flowing how it should, right? So remember that. But if you ain't really got too much of anything going on, and even kind of some major stuff like let me not, because I can't say that without them coming for me. And then if they come for me, I got to figure out a way to say that without getting hit with medical misinformation again, because it's not medical misinformation. But go to y'all key channel, any master herbalist, and research, look into it, right? You can fast really no matter what you have going on, even traumas. And I've learned this from a doctor. This is a medical doctor who had residency in a hospital, had his own medical clinic, doing the regular doctor things the doctor way for many years, until he decided he wanted to switch over to a more holistic type of practice. And even then with fasting, even with traumas, because even with him, he talked about when he had fallen, he had took this fall and he broke his leg. All he simply did was fast, and his body recovered way fat. It even surprised his doctors. He said, well, what are you doing? He said, I simply just stopped eating, because he understood that when you stop feeding your body here, right? When you stop feeding your body here and it goes within, it begins to look for the first thing it can heal. And your body will triage the most urgent thing first, that perceives that needs to be healed first. And it will begin to work inwardly and heal that. And at that point, because he had already transitioned to a plant-based lifestyle, the major issue of his body was that broken leg, right? But his broken leg was healed, if I remember correctly, like 4 or 5 weeks, if I remember correctly. I gotta find, that was Dr. Lauren Lockman. Let me see if I'll find it. I'm gonna share that, Dr. Lauren Lockman. And he does, he has I shared him before, he does a lot of fasting videos, right? But he shared this like a few years ago. I just got to find a video. I'm going to share it with y'all. All right. So y'all can see. But yeah, something amazing happens when you apply the fasting principle on the Sabbath. Even if you're going to start a longer fast, it's the easiest to start it on a Sabbath, right? Uncle Jay, big grand rising. It will help us all, especially those who eat flesh and blood. Some people can fast 1 meal. Yeah, just start somewhere, right? And you ain't got to do it all the time. You know, some people will fast more than others just because they feel led to, or what have you. They may be trying to heal their body. Angela, blessings. BC said, my body got locked into fasting because I did it too hard. Now I'm struggling to keep my weight up. I reprogrammed my appetite. Yeah, you should, let's see, who does a good job? Well, Dr. Mindy Pelez, she really focuses on women and fasting and the body types and the age. So for women with that, and so you don't get like, you know, like stay underweight, you're missing some information. You're like forgetting to do something. She helps you sort that out. So I would say Dr. Lauren Lockman, hardcore fasting, right? And he is not hardcore, but if you want to do hardcore, he can show you the way with proof, medical documents, all that stuff on how to hardcore. You know, it's different types. You can do dry, you can do wet fast or whatever. Although he doesn't recommend dry fasting for long periods of time, right? And there's also another doctor up here who talked about fasting, but he was not as let's just say learned as he portrayed to be, because his method killed him. Like, he died a couple years ago. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I knew when I was listening to him, I was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that, right? Because I think that's foolish advice. Like, you do a long fast, I say 7 days, and he would tell you what he was doing. He'd do straight, like, he would do wet fast, like drink water, whatever. But he was acting like his body, and although your body is a machine, but you got to be smart. Like, he would fast for 7 days, and then after 7 days, eat like huge meals. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? And he said he just got his body into the rhythm where he could do that. I'm like, I get that. I was like, but that's, first of all, how can you even stuff that much food in your body after 7 days of fasting, right? Because after 4 days of water fasting, your appetite shrink, at least in my, probably because I've been doing like fasting cycles, you know, so maybe mine is, I don't know, maybe it's different for everybody else. But I would think it's darn near impossible to get that much food in your system after 7 days of only water, because the body snaps back like that, you know. But yeah, and I forget his name. Okay, so I'll share them both. Dr. Mindy Pelez, she really focuses on the dynamics of women and their bodies with all the different hormones. She has really, really good information, right? And she'll show you how to do fast, if you're on your cycle, if you're not on your cycle. That's what I was running into, like with my longer fast. I'm like, oh my gosh. And one time I almost passed out because my cycle had started, and I didn't take into account of what I would be losing on my cycle versus what I was intaking, like all of that. It's really, I mean, you can do it, but if you really want to like make it a lifestyle, and not just these one-off fasts. If you want to make it a lifestyle and really grow spiritually, I would say you probably need to study it just a little more than the average people do. And I think Dr. Mindy Pelez, she's really good for that. And she is awesome for this. She's like the only one that I found that really specifically, although the information is good for men, but specifically with women's makeup, their hormones, pregnancy, all that stuff. And nobody recommends that you fast when you're pregnant, right? But she's really, really good for women. Dr. Lauren Lockman, he's a good even with both or whatever, you know. Yaki is good with herbs, healing the body with herbs. So is Dr. Sabi, they do the herbs. But both are just as powerful, even though just straight water fasting will get you to healing a whole lot faster. Some people, that's too hardcore for, and they have to still consume something. So I would say look into like Yaki, right? And then just, you know. All right, so that was it. I just wanted to bring up that point. Some people have to drink water so they don't get dehydrated. Yeah, and also, here's something I learned while I was doing my first 40-day. My first 40-day was okay, but it was towards the end where I realized the more water I drank, and this sounds crazy, the more water I drank, the more dehydrated I got. Till I realized that you can't just, they tell you can, but I'm telling you, if you're taking a longer fast, you cannot just drink regular spring water or distilled water, because you're going to find yourself getting thirstier and thirstier, and you are, because you are dehydrated. Actual water, it'll refresh you, it'll hydrate you, but even when you go to the hospital, they don't just give you straight water. They either give you sugar water, and your IV and stuff is structured water, right? So you have to have, for longer fasts, I would definitely say from personal experience, you need some structured water, right? Even if you just get water and you get electrolytes and put it in it, or which contain the structured water, the three main ingredients is potassium, magnesium, and sodium, which is salt, not regular table salt, right? There's a lot of different videos that show you how to do it, and you can even buy it like that and pack. It's like, you ever heard of the snake juice fast? Dude has a filthy mouth, absolutely filthy mouth. But the whole theory behind the snake juice fast is he came up with that because of the way snakes eat, right? The snake juice diet. So they eat once and they go for long periods of time with nothing to eat until they come upon their next meal. So that was the theory and the name of it, right? But with that, he designed, and it's for sale. You can get it from the market, but you don't even have to do that, right? You can just get coconut water. Coconut water has the same exact things. It's structured beautifully, and it's from nature. That's what the creator designed. You ain't got to get all this extra stuff and mix it up. You can already find it in nature. Coconut water is structured water. So if you go on a long fast, you can still drink regular water, but I would say definitely get some structured water like coconut water, or if you want to get structured water from your fruits. The juice from fruits is structured water. It's H3O2, right? So yeah, just be mindful of those things. It'll help make your fasting a little bit easier, especially if you're going on a longer fast. So I'm working myself back up to the longer one as I'm running into some of the things that I wasn't realizing before, you know, just developing and grow so you can sustain it longer. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Let's go back to this. But I'll go back up to verse 28. We're on page 758. Shebrew, hey, God, hey. Okay. Verse 28. In the time of Cosmon, up to the 33rd year thereof, these things have come to pass. Thousands and